Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
What? Do you want to go to war, Balake?
No.
I'm for real. I'm for real. Ron. Where is Ron right now?
Ron, President Accounted For. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And welcome to all the new subscribers. The sub count's been blowing up recently. So welcome to the jungle. Hope you like some of my videos. Today I'm going to explain as briefly as I can how, in 2004, David Miscavige took what was already a fanatical, family-destroying self-improvement cult. He reimagined this cult and turned it into a straight-up real estate scam. This morning I saw that the post Mike Rinder put on his blog was about what Scientology calls their Ideal Org program. I was still a Sea Org member. I was still working for Scientology back in 2004 when this program was launched, when David Miscavige announced it. And it is this program, well, first let me define it. The Ideal Org program was a strategy where Miscavige said, you know, the reason Scientology isn't growing fast enough is because our buildings aren't big enough and they aren't beautiful enough. And to remedy this fact, every Scientology organization in the world needs to either, if they're currently in a building that's less than 50,000 square feet, they need to acquire a new building and fully renovate it and move into the new massive facility. Or if by some chance the org already happened to be in a facility that was close to 50,000 square feet, then they could move out of that into a temporary location, raise enough money to renovate their new building, to make it essentially brand new, and then move back in. And then Scientology puts out a press release as if they've just opened a new Church of Scientology. None of these are new churches of Scientology. They are simply existing Scientology organizations that are moving into new premises that are 10, 20 times bigger than anything these organizations could ever possibly require. So that is the Ideal Org strategy. We're going to quickly look at Mike Rinder's post, and then I'm going to explain some things about this that will show definitively how Scientology has become a real estate scam, and we're going to look at some things that indicate that not only is it a real estate scam, but it's just a straight up scam to begin with. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. So let's look at Mike's post here, the promised ideal orgs. One of our faithful readers sent me this recently. It's a screen cap of the Scientology website he had taken back in 2013. The Ideal Org program had been going for nearly 10 years by this time, and the hype had been maintained at a pretty high level. But with 9 years of hindsight, it is clear just how much BS Miscavige was peddling. All right, so this is what Scientology was saying on their own website 9 years ago. Upcoming churches of Scientology. In 2004, the leader of Scientology, Mr. David Miscavige, announced the launch of a program to create ideal Scientology churches world over. The listing below includes new properties in planning or construction stage projected to open in 2012 to 2013. Okay, so we're just gonna look at the United States for right now. Albuquerque, Battle Creek, Michigan, Boston, Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, Detroit, Harlem, Kansas City, New Haven, Connecticut, Philadelphia, San Diego, San Fernando Valley, St. Louis. Okay, so I was only looking at the ones in the US because I don't want to read all of these. There's a total of 33 cities on this list, so 33 buildings. All of these buildings were projected, for planning purposes, to open in 2013. The number of these buildings that opened in 2013 was precisely 0. The number of the buildings that opened in 2014 was 1. The number of buildings that opened in 2015 was 2. 2016, 3. 2017 had 4, 2018 had 1, 2019 had 2. Out of 33 properties, we are 9 years later, and 17 of these 33 properties are still not done. And that's not even to say that if the 17 were finished, that the entire Ideal Org program would be finished. Not at all. This program is not even close to halfway done worldwide. This is just out of the 33 buildings that as of 2013 had already been acquired, that of those 33, 17 9 years later still are not done. Now, the fact that these properties are not done is not evidence of something being a scam. These numbers at this point are only evidence of the fact that Scientology is incredibly inept at planning and execution. The reason these projects haven't gotten done actually has to do with the fact that Scientology, instead of expanding in membership, is very quickly declining in membership. The truth is, there simply are not enough Scientologists in the world. There aren't enough Scientologists around every Scientology organization to be able to handle the financial burden of all the fundraising required to purchase and renovate these new properties. But that brings us directly to the core issue of how this whole thing has become a real estate scam, and how it also demonstrates that Scientology itself is a massive scam. Scientology has billions of dollars of cash, liquid assets, and real estate assets. As far as cash in the bank, it's probably $1 billion to $1.5 billion. And for religious organizations, and Scientology has religious recognition in the United States, so that's why we're using that language in this conversation. Big churches, big religious organizations, there's large Christian organizations. Not insane, not unusual to have a lot of money in the bank. Not unusual to want to have large, gorgeous premises. To understand how and why this thing is really a scam, we're going to make an analogy to the Roman Catholic Church. For no other reason other than the Roman Catholic Church has a ton of money, and it's centralized and organized, so it has those things in common with Scientology. So you got the Roman Catholic Church, they got a ton of money, fine. They have big, giant, beautiful, expensive premises all around the world, fine. But let's say the Pope came out one day, and he made an announcement, and he said, guys, I just spoke to Jesus. Yep, the Heavenly Father, I spoke to him, and he gave me a message, and I'm going to share that message with you because this is going to change the direction. It's going to change church planning for the next 20 years. Here's what he told me. He said that in order to go to heaven, he said that in order for all of us to get into heaven, the rules have changed. That's the bad news. The good news is there's only one rule, okay? What he told me is every Roman Catholic church in the entire world needs to move into premises that is a good reflection on the Heavenly Father. We do have some nice church buildings around the world, but some of these little bodegas on the street corners ain't gonna cut it. So what we need to do forthwith, like this is the top priority for the organization, we need to come up with the funds to purchase and renovate these buildings. But guys, the good news is, once that's done, we're all getting into heaven. Yeah, we don't even have to wait. It's just instantaneous. This is how it's going to work. Now, if the Pope said that, that would raise some eyebrows. And then if the Pope came out and said, oh, and by the way, I know we have a lot of money in the bank, but Jesus told me, I swear to God, it came right from his lips to my ears. He said, we can't touch any of the money that we already have in the bank. We can only purchase these buildings with brand new money that gets raised. And then if you were like, now hold on a second. I was with you on the first step. I was at least kind of on board. I was willing to hear what else you had to say. But we can't use any of the money that we already have. Why would that be? And then the Pope was like, hey, look, you don't ask questions. That's not your place. In fact, you're out of here. You're excommunicated. Everyone, this guy, he's gone. No one's even allowed to talk to this guy anymore. Anyone who talks to this guy, you're excommunicated as well. God said we need new buildings. We need them as soon as possible. We need them yesterday. And it can only be purchased with brand new money raised. And then someone goes, well, can we take out loans? We have some huge property. Can we take loans against our current property to buy the new properties? No. God said no loans. He wants cold, hard cash. He will take checks, credit card, or money orders. Cash is always preferred. Now look, the reason why this analogy with the Roman Catholic Church is so perfect is because to understand what Miscavige is doing and the significance of it and what it means, you have to understand what Miscavige is telling Scientologists will occur once the ideal org strategy has been accomplished. Because what he's saying will occur is tantamount to the Pope saying, once we buy new buildings, everyone will get into heaven. And I try not to give like a 20-minute Scientology, history or ecclesiastical lesson every time I mention it in a video. But Scientologists believe that doing Scientology's bridge to total freedom is the only way that anyone on planet Earth can achieve spiritual salvation. Now, Scientology's definition of spiritual salvation is sure a hell of a lot different than the way any of the world's major religions would define it. And the nutshell version would be, it's very much like the Matrix. It's like the spiritual Matrix. Okay, in the movie The Matrix, all the human race, all the humans, their physical bodies were being enslaved by a machine race as a source of energy. Scientologists believe that we as spiritual beings are being enslaved in these physical bodies lifetime after lifetime here on Earth. And there's a whole alien-based conspiracy theory about how all of this came to be. And a part and parcel of that theory is this idea that we are all natively immortal and godlike spiritual beings. And part of the story of Scientology is how we came to fall from the state where we had all those abilities to where we are now, where our memories get wiped after every lifetime. We don't even know how to leave our bodies without the body dying. We have no memories of our past abilities or lives. And Scientologists believe that this is spiritual slavery. and Scientology and going up Scientology's bridge is the only thing that can red pill you and wake you up and break you free of these chains of spiritual slavery. And you'll notice at the very top of Scientology's bridge are these auditing levels called the OT levels. OT stands for Operating Thetan, and Operating Thetan in a nutshell means a Thetan, a spiritual being, Scientology calls us all Thetans, a spiritual being who has regained his godlike abilities. So as you can see here, the Scientology bridge goes up to OT 15. The only levels on this bridge that have actually been released in Scientology are up to OT 8. And for the last 30 plus years, David Miscavige has been telling everyone that before OT 9 and 10 can be released, Scientology organizations have to achieve a certain size. They have to make a certain amount of income. They have to have a certain amount of staff. They have to have a certain amount of public people who are paying to do Scientology. But in 2004, Miscavige changed the rules of the game. By the way, when an org hits those expansion benchmarks, that's called going Saint Hill size. It used to be that all orgs had to be Saint Hill size in order for OT 9 and 10 to be released. In 2004, Miscavige goes, you know, I've basically figured it out. He didn't say I spoke to L. Ron Hubbard because that would sound insane. But he basically said all the organizations need big, new, beautiful, gorgeous buildings that'll solve all of Scientology's problems. And once every org goes ideal, then OT 9 and 10 will be released. But after 9 and 10 get released, the only prerequisites for OT levels above that subsequently being released is just that enough Scientologists have finished the previous OT levels. So once, he never said what that number should be, but once a certain number of Scientologists finish OT 9 and 10, automatically OT 11 will be released, same thing OT 12, etc., etc. So it's important to understand that Scientologists' version of going to heaven is essentially going all the way up through OT 15. Don't get me wrong, Scientologists don't believe in a heaven or a hell or a supreme being or a messiah. But as far as how someone might define salvation, Scientologists define salvation as doing the upper OT levels, going OT, being OT. And so Miscavige is essentially saying, once we have all these buildings done, everyone's finally going to be able to go completely spiritually free. And I shit you not, when he also says, by the way, we're not going to use any of the money that we already have in the bank to buy any of these buildings. In fact, Scientologists, for the most part, don't really know. They're not really aware of how much money Scientology has in the bank. And I think a lot of the Scientologists would be pretty pissed off if they actually found out that Scientology already has enough money in the bank to pay for every Scientology building in the world to do this ideal org strategy. There's only about 150 Scientology organization buildings in the world. I mean, it's probably less. In some of my videos, I've casually thrown around between 150, 175, 200 as the number of real Scientology organizations in the world. But that includes organizations that have a day and foundation shift. So just for example, the Scientology organization in Austin has a day shift, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. That's called the day org. And then there's a night shift, nights and weekends. That's called the foundation org. Well, in the world of Scientology, Austin Day and Austin Foundation are counted as two separate Scientology organizations. Can you imagine if any other organization worked like that? Like Starbucks has about 15,000 locations in the United States. Could you imagine if on their next earnings call, they're like, hey guys, we have doubled the number of Starbucks. We went from 15,000 to 30,000. And like, oh my God, how much capital expenditure did it take to open 15,000 new Starbucks? And like, no. We just got day and foundation shifts. Yeah, no, we just decided to double count them. Yeah, so instead of 15,000 locations, now we've got 30,000. That's literally how Scientology works. It's how they count their orgs. So anyway, when you remove duplicates from the Scientology organization list for accounting for the day and foundation, there's probably 125 to 150 Scientology buildings. If you just say an average of, if you assign a cost of $5 million to purchase and renovate buildings, in major cities it'll cost more, in non-major cities it'll cost less. That's $750 million. Scientology had enough money in the bank in 2004 to get it all done. And the fact that over the last 18 years, they have used this carrot, Miscavige has used this carrot. Hey guys, we need to finish the ideal org strategy in order to release OT 9 and 10. And we have to release OT 9 and 10 to save all mankind. Guys, the only reason we're not saving all mankind right now is because you haven't donated enough money to get into these buildings. You can see very clearly how not only has Scientology as an organization turned into a massive real estate scam. But you can see clearly that Scientology is itself a massive scam. And I've realized that to most people watching this video, you're probably gonna go, dude, we did not need any additional evidence that Scientology was a massive scam. And you are correct. I'm just pointing out that even to a Scientologist, if they would just take a moment to consider the facts as they exist, as I have laid them out here. Any Scientologist watching this video, there's nothing I've said that would go, that's not true, that's not true. Any Scientologist watching this video knows everything I just said is true. It's just that when you're in Scientology and you're under the effects of that cult mind control, it's like your ability to connect dots is completely removed. And if you're a Scientologist and you still even believe in the bridge and you believe in OT and you believe in everything LRH said, you would at least have to acknowledge that what David Miscavige has done with the Ideal Org program over the last 18 years demonstrates that he doesn't believe. Isn't that interesting? I've actually done a video on this channel expressing how I do think that David Miscavige believes in Scientology. But the way I've laid it out here, you would have to conclude that at least as examining it in this way, he clearly doesn't. Because if Scientology and the upper OT levels really are what is going to save every human soul, and if the only requirement to release those levels is to finish this Ideal Org program, and if Scientology already has enough money in the bank to finish the Ideal Org program in the next 12 to 24 months, if it really wanted to, what other conclusion could you possibly come to? What else could you put forth as an explanation for why Miscavige has milked this Ideal Org program for every dollar and cent that it's worth over the last 18 years? And how can you explain that this program is not even half done? So whereas, yes, this video is being produced for all of you in the world who've never had anything to do with Scientology, what I'm really hoping is that there's something in this video that resonates with all of you who watch this channel who are still in Scientology. Please stop throwing your money away and giving it to this family-destroying cult. Please stop enabling David Miscavige, enabling him in bankrupting all your friends and family members who are also still in Scientology and have been robbed of their ability to think critically, examine facts that are right in front of their faces, and come to correct conclusions. The Ideal Org strategy is nothing but a real estate scam. Scientology is nothing but a scam. Please stop throwing your time away, your money away, and your lives away. All right, everyone, that's all I have for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe